Hello, it's Michael Folkeson from Risk Bazaar, and in this series comparing Bitcoin to Ethereum, today I'm going to focus on addresses. So in a previous video I explained that an address is the equivalent of your account number with a bank account or an email address with a system like PayPal. Basically, if you want to receive Bitcoin or Ether, you'll need to give this address out so that other people know where to send the Bitcoin or Ether. So there are a few similarities between Bitcoin addresses and Ethereum addresses. I'll briefly go through them first. They both can be calculated from the private key. So it's not an emergency if you lose or mislay your Bitcoin or Ethereum address, as long as you still have access to your private key. You can put your private key into a number of functions that spit out your address. So it's not an emergency if you lose your address. Other similarities include, as you can see, they both include numbers and uppercase letters and lowercase letters. And to calculate these addresses, they both make use of hash functions. And hash functions convert longer strings into shorter strings of a specific length. So let's move on to the differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum addresses. One obvious one is that Bitcoin addresses start with a 1, whilst Ethereum addresses start with a 0x. You can get some Bitcoin addresses also starting with a 3. Other differences are that Bitcoin addresses can vary between 26 and 34 characters in length, whilst Ethereum addresses are consistently 42 characters. But the most important difference in my eyes is that Bitcoin addresses contain what's called a checksum by default, and there is no checksum in an Ethereum address by default. So what's a checksum and why is it important? Well, a checksum provides some protection against mistyping the address. So whether it's you or somebody else mistypes the address, because of the checksum that's included within the Bitcoin address, there would have to be a large number of mistakes for the payment to be processed. Most of the time, especially if it's only 1 or 2 characters that are wrong, the software will flag that the address you've entered is incorrect. And so this is a great feature from a user perspective. You don't want to have to type a long address over and over and over again with only with the chance of losing your money if you make one error at any point in time. So this is a problem, I think, for Ethereum addresses from a usability perspective. Now, that's not to say that to send Bitcoin and Ether, you always have to type out the long addresses on this whiteboard. Wallet software or even QR codes can be used to send Bitcoin and Ether between addresses. But just to end on as a warning, if you are sending Ethereum or Ether to another address, double check and perhaps even triple check that you've entered the right address character for character, because the likelihood is there is no protection against any error that you've typed into the address field.